evening, folks. Hobby Talk with PSA Canada for October 6, 2022. And of course, anything interesting happen?
Well,
Anything interesting this week? Pretty
uh,
quiet.
maybe a few things.
Maybe a few things. Maybe a few things. So we'll talk about that for sure. There was definitely some activity on my own channel. On my own channel, I got to do a video last night, and then I got to do a video today, and there was a lot. There's a lot of stuff that came in for that, so we'll chat about some of that for sure. And if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, we'll definitely get to it. Quick housekeeping item off the top. Usually keep putting in comments for the videos. For the most part, Brad and the team have been pretty good about responding back to it. If there's anything pertinent that we think we can carry over, there's one comment that I think is pretty good, and maybe we'll touch on some of that if we can as well. But for the most part, we'll either answer there, answer here, or answer in both. So feel free to do it because that way you get a response one way or the other, and we'll make sure we see it. Second thing I want to bring up housekeeping wise is that next week we're going to adjust the schedule slightly. I had a chat with Brad. Next week I'm taking advantage. AEW is making his first appearance in Canada on the Wednesday and the Thursday, and Carlos will be there. And Carlos may be cursing himself at the end of it, but the point is he'll be there. He's got those tickets. He paid good money for them. He's going. But that means we're going to do this thing on Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday, 9 p.m., same start time, but it'll be on the Tuesday instead of the Thursday. And then after that, we'll be back to the regular schedule, and we'll start talking expo plans, start teasing a little bit. You can look forward to that. That'll be coming. And one other thing I'll mention is that, and I won't say who yet because we'll get a chance down the road. We were going to have a guest tonight, but obviously there was enough stuff going on that we figured we had plenty to talk about. We didn't want to, shortchange them. So we're going to try to reschedule and we'll get them back in, and you'll know who it is when the time is right. And we're going to start bringing in some folks into the channel as well to contribute and add to it and give different perspectives. So I think it'll be fun. It'll be good stuff. Let me go here. PSA Talk and Thursday Night Football. Absolutely. 100%. So let's take a look here. So this one here, I like touching on it a little bit. I'll touch on it briefly, but for the most part, hockey, save this one for Friday. Friday is, Friday is the better venue for this. You know this. But I'll touch on it briefly. And Brad, you can add anything you want to, as much or as little as you like. So Brad, what was the response from Collectors Universe regarding the sports card radio consolidating all of Ken Golden's shady tactics? Now, just speaking for myself, do you honestly think Collectors Universe is paying attention? Day to day, do you honestly think they are? Kenny is, but I don't think the general business as a whole. If you genuinely believe that the company is not at least somewhat aware of Ken Golden's long time in the hobby and the potential for questions about different things, then you're not giving them much credit because some of those guys have been around a while. So I just keep that in mind. And feel free to re-ask the question on Friday, and we can discuss it in a little bit more depth, if that makes sense. So we'll get into that. So good evening, Yannick. Absolutely. So let's take a look here. Here. Okay, here we go. So this one's a good one. So this one directly pertains. Good evening. Brad called me today and informed me that my cards, 7 in total, were submitted at Expo in May. Still a PSA 5 months and might take 6. What's PSA doing to make up for that? Holding my cards hostage, nothing I can do. It's not acceptable. Not Brad's fault, but beyond frustrating. Brad, customer service time. You know what to do. Euro 420. Your question is being read. Go for it.
Oh, absolutely. So we have 120 cards of well over 10,000 that are still we're still waiting to come back. So what I decided to do today is I was proactive on it. So I decided to call every person that we had cards that weren't back. So I called them individually just to let them know, look, they're in the final stages, they're in the Q2 or they're in the shipping department. I'm not exactly sure why that one order is not coming back. That was the easiest thing to do. The cards were submitted. We shipped them down there. Sorry, we flew them down on June 24th or 25th. So the card expo was June 2nd to 5th. It took us about 2 weeks after we got home to do all the orders. We processed them all. We delivered them. They get entered into the system at like the 1st of July because it takes about a week for PSA to get the cards into their system. So we had July, August, September. So it's right around 90 days. It's not 5 or 6 months. But yeah, I'm happy to help out and I'm happy to talk about the situation.
Sounds good. And yeah, more than valid question. You're more than welcome to, because we talk about it. If you ever want the status of your order and you have an order outstanding, you can ask the question and then it can be looked up. And I'll actually give you a quick example, just similar to, I actually dealt with it today. It made me laugh a little bit. I have a Consti order that I've been waiting on a little bit. It takes about a month, give or take, for them to process it and put it through. And it was supposed to have been shipped on the 30th, but the 30th was a holiday. So I go, oh, fair enough. It'll get carried over. It gets to go to Canada and it gets shipped out. I waited until today. and the date kept getting adjusted and adjusted and adjusted. It just kept going. Now, ComStay used to have this problem back during the pandemic, but they've gotten better at it. Usually, if they put a date on it, they're pretty good at meeting that date. So finally, I just said, sent a quick message on the thing. Oh, hey guys, here's my shipment number. What's going on with this? So when blip, they were like, let me look at that for you. And then they sent me, I'll get back to you on that. Took about an hour. Suddenly I had a tracking number. Sometimes it's just shaking the right thing. It's like, it went days and days and days where they kept getting adjusted. I asked one question. It took 1 hour. And suddenly I had a tracking number.
Yeah.
It's interesting somehow that goes sometimes.
And things happen. And you know what? And when you are submitting cards, we had an estimated turnaround of 90 days. And it's right around that. It's going to be an extra on that. There's one order outstanding. It's going to be an extra 3 or 4 weeks. And that's going to happen in business. And how we deal with it going forward, that's a good thing. There's certain people that do submit cards that, hey, if you're not prepared for a few blips, then maybe you shouldn't submit cards.
Yep. So this one here, when you guys going to announce the expo rate? Unless something weird happens, it's going to be whatever the rate is at the time that the expo kicks in. It's like for this one here.
Sorry, I was just reading the comments. I just drifted off.
Yep.
When you guys announce the expo rate. Yeah, so right now tonight we released new pricing that PSA announced. So sorry, Carlos, just 1 sec. I have a link on my phone right now that's sending all my phone messages up on the screen on the left.
Yep.
I just got to close that out. I apologize.
So let me ask you a question. Let me phrase it this way. Unless something special happens, since you're taking submissions and you're not actually doing grading at the expo, the expo rate is going to be whatever the rate happens to be at the time that the expo runs. So when we get to mid-November, if there's another rate change between now and then, more than likely it'll be reflected. But otherwise, the current rate that is on the Instagram right now is the expo rate, barring a change from PSA itself.
Absolutely, 100%. Thanks.
Yeah. So that would be the way that I would phrase that, Rada. Just keep that in mind. Right now, go to the Instagram, you'll get the rate right now based on the last price change that just happened. And then if there's any other change between now and the expo in mid-November, because I think it's right around November 10th, 11th this year, give or take, right about there. So if there's a change right before that, then maybe there'll be a change between then and now.
Yep.
All right. So this one here, is PSA Canada / PSA going to put out a statement regarding accepting Upper Deck Team Canada cards? They're cards. Not to be insensitive, but they're cards. As long as they're properly licensed cards that can be graded, they'll more than likely be graded. There's the infamous cameo card. I don't remember the basketball player, but there's that basketball card where the Menendez brothers are in the background. There are all these historical, is that a good reason for someone to want that card? No, it's kind of scummy. But at the same time, it's like, it was a legitimate card in the legitimate set. The player on the front of the card had the player on the front of the card did nothing wrong. Unfortunately, there is a lot of stuff going on with Team Canada and that's a real thing. But at the same time, it's like, they're still cards. If somebody wants to do the set and they want the card graded, they want the card graded. There's nothing wrong technically with the cards.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's really what it comes down to. It's not like, it's not endorsing the individual in the card. It's that, the card's in the legitimate set and you grade it. Good evening, Eric.
Hey, Eric.
So if the new pricing with times that it takes to get back, how do we know when they will actually get handed over to PSA? If I pay $135 for 21-day service, how much longer would it take? I would expect it's close to 21 days. So the turnover, this is kind of the handoff from the time you get it to the time PSA gets it.
Exactly. So we ship every week. So things take time. So it depends on when you ship your cards to us as well. So if we ship on a Tuesday and we get your cards on that Wednesday, we're not shipping until the following Tuesday. So that's 8 days. Then by the time they transport, sometimes our package gets there in less than 24 hours. Sometimes it gets stuck in customs and it could be up for 3 or 4 days there. Then from that end, usually PSA gets it in the system, which is now they're running about anywhere from, I'd say, 3 days to 7 days by the time they enter them into the research and IDs section. So that's all. That could be another 2 or 3 weeks. So when we put on all our pricing and turnaround times that we do, everything's an estimated turnaround time, but it's also from the time it's entered into the system. So in 3 or 4 weeks time before the expo, we're going to be launching our new website, which we're super excited for. You're going to be able to track your order's progress on our website. So when you have your order in place, it's going to make it with having over 3,000 customers now, obviously it gets very hard and I understand when people want to know, where's my cards? What stage are they at? Totally get it. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be the same way. I'd be curious to say, hey, where's my cards? What stage are they in? So once we add that in, that's going to be a huge, people are really going to be able to appreciate that and see where their cards are at all times. So
good stuff. And that'll be kind of one in a series of different little announcements that are going to come up as things get added and get enhanced. One other thing, I think I saw it. I wanted to make sure I read it from the bench. Good evening. Absolutely. And I know you got a question after, so I'll get back to it in a second. How far along are the July specials submissions?
So all of July now, we're starting to have some come back. Some of them are still in the grading stage. I know that this week the PSA hopes to have them all out in the next 30 days. That was a statement that president of PSA, Kevin Linane, made. So hopefully we'll start to have them all rolling back in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Nova Grower says Mark Jackson Hoops. That's the
it.
one. Thank you. Thank you for that, Nova. Appreciate it. Do you guys have anyone going to the card show in Moncton to collect submissions on October 15th?
No, actually, we don't. If you want to reach out, we will be in Moncton this weekend. If you have a submission is available, we'll be there just for my nephew's hockey game. He made Team Nova Scotia, so they're playing in the Atlantic Cup, which is under 14 male, but super excited to go see it. So I will be in Moncton this weekend. If you do have submissions, I'm dropping off some cards to a few people. So if you want to reach out to us, we'll be happy to take submissions there. If not, the next time we'll be taking submissions at a show. We'll be in Halifax. We will be on Halifax on the 29th. I'll be in Montreal on the 29th to the 30th taking submissions. Then the Toronto show, the 10th to 13th. And then after that, we'll be in Vancouver at the Bossa show from the 18th to 20th.
Busy upcoming show schedule. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can always submit it directly or use one of the other avenues. So that covers a lot of ground there. Thank you for the question from the bench. Express Ship, thank you for your time. Absolutely. Thank you for asking. And Halifax show coming up. So Brad indirectly touched on that one. So that's perfect. So Ryan here wants an update from Sherry. Sherry, please, if you get the chance, that'd be great. Awesome. Next, Expo special, Thanksgiving special, Black Friday special, Christmas special, Boxing Day special. Do we have all the specials covered? Oh, there'll be a special. There'll be a special. Don't worry about that. It's part of business. You want to, like, if you ever get a chance, look, one of my favorite things in the world is the local businesses and stores, even regular stuff. Regular stuff like basically the Shoppers Drug Mart. They basically will do a sale. The problem is it's the same products every single week. They'll change the price slightly, but it's literally like, if it's a special, every Thursday you discount the exact same item, or it's every other week, but it's the same item. It's like, is that really a sale? Or is that literally like half the time you charge full price, half the time you charge a little bit discount? But it's so consistent because it's the same item. It's like, guys, or my favorite always used to be the store that was in liquidation. Final sale, everything must go. And the store would be there for like 8 years. And final liquidation, I'd be like, have you sold it all? You just brought in more inventory. That's not final liquidation. Get out of here. It's been years and years and years. It's like, it's a sales tactic. As the consumer, truthfully, you really shouldn't care unless you don't get a special on the thing you're looking for. If you get a special that fits and gives you the price you want for the item you want, great. They do mix it up a little bit though, but if you notice, and we'll talk about the price change that came up to this week, if you notice, they also modified some of the criteria, some of the dates that are covered and the different categories. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit more shifting around and jostling between now and then, but no specific dates that we know of. Even this one, we'll give you a little bit of story just to talk about it. It wasn't like there was a lot of notice. Stuff kind of just happened. Wheels moved and then things happened. And a lot of us found out not dissimilarly, not long before you did. Yeah. So bear that in mind. Good evening, Andy. Absolutely. Thank you for popping in. What about card collector Mike Danton as a guest?
So there you go. So Mike Danton is a card collector, and he's become a good friend of mine since he came here back in his St. Mary's. He came here to play hockey at St. Mary's University, and he's into the store once a week. And yeah, I don't know if you'd want to be a guest on our show, but he's got a good collection.
There you go. It's always possible. I think there'll be an opportunity for have a nice variety of guests as we go along. Now that we've got kind of a format figured out, I think we'll get an opportunity to expand our horizons by having some guests in to provide a little different commentary. Yeah. Good evening, Bobbles. Absolutely. Hello. Sounds good, Sherry. Thank you for that. Will there be PSA Canada merch? You should start selling the merch.
Yeah. You know what? We do have a lot of people that ask. The big thing about, obviously, with what we have, we're branded that, and we wouldn't want it to be out in the wrong hands. But for Hockey 99, if you ever want to reveal yourself, I'd be happy to personally give you a nice PSA Canada shirt.
Look, I know who needs a PSA Canada shirt more than anyone else. More than anyone else. All right, but no, good stuff. And we'll definitely get into that. But let's talk about the price decrease briefly. It was a little bit not a surprise from the perspective that we talked about it the last couple of weeks. Within reason, there was going to be another price adjustment. It was just a matter of when. It was a matter of when and what the nature was. And I believe I said that I expected it to go sub 20 because it only made all the sense in the world. It was just a matter of when it was going to occur. What we know for sure is that I think a lot of it came together super quickly, and I think that was the experience you had, is that like it kind of just came together, and then they got it up, and then almost immediately after, one of the other competitors also got a price decrease right at the same time. Now, you can see kind of a difference in the two presentations. We talk about it a little bit more freely here, but just bear that in mind that we'll talk about it. But it was put together pretty quick. It went real fast. Like suddenly one day it wasn't there, and then suddenly it was, imminent. And then boom, suddenly you get the announcement, the social media posts and everything. And then things start coming together from there. I understand how we arrived at that destination. What's going to be interesting, and this is something, we kind of sort of talked about on the side, but it's also going to be interesting. And this is something that made me laugh because there were two pieces, $18 bulk with $199 declared value, and then $15 TCG with $199 declared value. And also an adjustment in the years that are covered in the two types of bulk. So we've got a little bit of an adjustment in that. The thing that was funny for me, and this is maybe one that could be kind of fun, Brad, as far as the pricing structure is concerned. A card that is a favorite of mine, recent 700 home run, person who joined 700 home run category, Albert Pujols. One of my favorite Albert Pujols rookie cards is actually from MLB Showdown 2000, which was produced by Wizards of the Coast. It was in pack, licensed product from them. It is considered a rookie card by several of the different places, but it is from a gaming set. So the question is that a sports card or is that a TCG card? Because it is from a collectible card game. MLB Showdown was a collectible card game from Wizards of the Coast.
You know what? That's a great question. Did you try?
Is that a loophole?
Yeah, yeah. It probably is.
Yeah, because technically speaking, Wizards of the Coast produces Magic the Gathering. It is 100%, and they used to work with the Pokemon company to produce the Pokemon cards. They are a trading card game manufacturer. That's what they do. And this product was produced by them, licensed by Major League Baseball. Every element of it is in there. You can play the game. You can roll the dice. He's got stats on the card and everything.
Yeah, I think, you know what? Honestly, I'm sure that PSA would not dispute it if you did send that in.
Oh, and I will, Brad. Like, as soon as you open up it's like, you just open up the door for me. I think that's a TCG card. Albert Pujols, I choose you.
If you've seen the amount, obviously today's been a very long day with the amount of emails, questions, phone calls, which is awesome. It's great for business, but it has been a long day, that's for sure. But the amount of people that actually today that were looking to see if Marvel was part of TCG, which is understandably people just assume, but it's not. Marvel cards are not. TCG is trading card game.
Well, that's the reason why I asked. That's the reason why the loophole is interesting, because it 100% was a trading card game when it came out. It 100% was.
Yeah. So
it has long since been defunct, but it was a trading card game, sold and marketed as such 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been keeping that one in my back pocket. As soon as I saw $15 TCG, it's like, oh, have I got it? Have I got a selection for you, sir?
I just got to put down there on my little question list that I'm going to find some answers.
And Brad, I'm sending you that card.
Oh, yeah.
You better believe I'm sending that one to you. It's like, I want that in the $15 TCG category, sir. That's what I want. I'll take it. I actually really like the card, so I'm a fan. So for me, it was like, I'll take that. Sounds great. Okay.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that card, to tell you the truth.
It's actually a very fun card. I'll pull up a picture of one for you. Yeah. It's actually very. There's two versions, and I have one of them, and I think it's a cool card for me. It's different, particularly the fact that it's different. It wasn't expensive though. They were affordable, quite affordable for a while. I think it's really nice of Bobbles to lower the price in SGC grading. That is a fact. He's really making his presence felt as a new owner over there. True. And Bobbles is offended by being called a new owner, which is true. And get back to the Blockbuster VHS grading. Like, look, we've got all the players. We've got 3 of the different third-party graders represented in this stream. We've got Eric, who is well known, has affiliation with Beckett, long-standing love, first a passionate fanboy, and then, but allegedly, an employee. And we got Bobbles, who may or may not control SGC behind the scenes. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. His name might be Bobbles. Just saying. Moving on. Josh, good evening. Now the price has dropped a bit more. Do we think the next move is to increase the declared value and lower the rate, assuming we have a next move? I think the answer is yes. My opinion has been that this is where I think it's a consistent test of the marketplace. We're consistently testing the marketplace. My opinion has been that Nat Turner has said different statements. My belief, though, is that at some point you have to get to a price point somewhere in that 12 to 15 range. I feel like for that 199, I think we'll eventually, the timing is the part I don't know, but I feel like we'll settle somewhere in that 12 to 15 range, and then there will be a sub, maybe for $20 will be like $4.99. So that will be a higher declared value at like a $20 rate. That's a nice solid middle ground. There's got to be something for the PSA set registry guys. So, you know, Hockey was joking about the specials, but for me, the next special that I would be looking at is for the set registry guys. Reward their loyalty. Give them some, throw them a bone. After all this and the waiting and everything, give them this. I would give them like $10 grading, but it has to be on the set registry. Like it has to be 100%. You have to prove you have a set registry, make sure it's part of the set registry, and then here you go. Here's a rate that you deserve for your loyalty. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think between the 2 levels, the bulk and the value, the $4.99 tier, like I feel like there's a happy medium that the 2 can be combined into one lot. So I don't know, maybe it is $15 for up to $4.99 at some point in the future.
I would love that, but it wouldn't shock me if it was $20 flat for $4.99, and then that $10-ish one that is the $1.99, and there you go. You cover the low end, and you gave them up to $500, which covers a lot of ground for a lot of people's collections. $500 is still decent.
It does, and there's so much gray area when it comes to that, especially with the fluctuation in card prices. Like, what do you determine now? Like, if you submit a card, if it's trading at $300, you know what? Next month it could be at $200 or $150. Like, there's not a lot of room between, you know, from 0 to $4.99. Like when you're putting that $1.99 level in there, it's quite a bit of a gray area based upon what I've seen on upcharges at that $1.99 level. It's for cards that are really pushing $500 and above.
Yes.
Like, so it's not like they're pushing it on cards that are $300 or $350 or it's really pushing the $500 and above cards to see upcharges. That's what I've seen so far. So.
Yeah. And again, your mileage may vary. We're always trying to be very clear and transparent about this. You will see somebody, you'll always have somebody say, oh, well, in my case, it was $201 and I got upcharged. Look, I believe you. But a lot of times, but PSA Canada submitted a lot of cards. And there's a lot of cards that straddle that line that get through no problem. So it's like, it will be a your mileage may vary thing. The experience of a lot of cards is that for the most part, nobody's sitting there worried about $210 and then going, we must hit you with the upcharge. Yeah. It's the egregious example where like, you're really trying to pull a fast one. It's like, no, you're getting upcharged. Sorry. Good luck with that.
So like, that's like when I look at that came through today, it was a 500 card order at the July $18 special. And it was a lot of young guns that the person submitted. And that's kind of like a wheelhouse, something that I know the prices of. So when I looked at it, you've seen the upcharges on guys were Zegras and Caulfield, Kaprasov, like those guys were all getting, and they're all trading well above, you know, $400 to $800 in that range. Those were the specific ones that were getting upgraded. And then a lot of other guys that are still trading around 300, 350, 400 weren't in PSA 10s, that is. So. Yeah,
for sure. Makes sense. So Bobbles here thinking the loophole way. Wasn't 51 Tops technically a trading card game? I like where you're thinking, Bobbles. I like what you're thinking. I think I've got a better shot of pulling mine off, but I still like what you're thinking. I like where your head's at. We got to think hashtag loopholes, man. We got to think hashtag. Look, I think I can get away with this Pujols thing. I will fight this one. As far as I'm concerned, Wizards of the Coast, that was a card game. I was at the show where they introduced it, and I played that game. So I assure you it was a collectible card game at the time. Yeah. I know that for a fact, sir. How come other genres don't have lower grading fees? For example, wrestling. Could you imagine if you segmented it? The wrestling guys would freak out. That'd be funny. It'd be entertaining. But it's like, it's like there's no non-sport category. TCG is kind of its own deal. I'm curious why they eventually separated TCG into its own thing, but I understand it. It's kind of a different genre. So it's one of those things where, like, for a long time, a lot of those cards, even think about today, like TCG. My loophole aside, I collect some Magic the Gathering cards that were contemporary to my time era, but most of them aren't worth that much. Like, even for a personal collection standpoint, I wouldn't submit them for grading. If I was going to submit a card for grading from Magic, it would probably be the early stuff. It would be the stuff in the sets where Black Lotus is available, early expansions, stuff that was printed in much lesser quantities than today. They're nice cards that would look cool, but at the same time, it would be like, the value just isn't there necessarily. That's a category where maybe it doesn't make sense. The Pokemon guys, though, I totally get it. If they got their foil Charizard and it looks like it's in good shape, like, there's value there. We know this. There's value. So I'm not shocked that they would submit that. It makes total sense to me.
That's the extent of my Pokemon collection.
Yeah. There isn't much. There isn't much. Like, for collectible card games, it's got to be real specific stuff. And it makes sense. I get it. So it's like, fair enough. But that's why I think it's kind of its own category. But if you check out the gem rate numbers, the TCG category is done very well for PSA. So it makes total sense why they would want to appeal to it. It does make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Bobbles has got a serious PSA question. I like when he's got a serious PSA question. I love this. Why do cards have different declared values? The different declared values. But Funko Pops is just a standard fee. If it's based on insurance, wouldn't it be the same for all items? Now, I have a serious question because I don't know the answer to it. What would be considered a high-end Funko? What's an expensive Funko run these days? I don't know what the answer is to that. I actually have no idea.
Either do I.
I'd be kind of curious. I genuinely don't, but I genuinely don't know. Now, I'm not just pretending to be ignorant on that. I actually have complete ignorance because I have no idea. But that's kind of where I'd be curious about it. From my opinion is that if you're going to have the different levels, it usually is based on, like I said, it was based on the declared value. But, like, what's the most expensive Funko going for? How much would it be?
I don't know. You'd think a sign, because I mean, a lot of the Funkos that are going to be graded too are going to be autographs. So a Tom Brady, Tiger Woods. I know you can go on the entertainment side but probably those two guys would probably be the most expensive Funkos with an auto on them.
Could be. And Bobbles is saying thousands of dollars. So fair enough. I could see that being the case. By the way, here's the card that I was referring to. My loophole card. That's what I'm referring to. That's MLB Showdown. That is 2000 MLB Showdown. Albert Pujols, by the way, Albert Pujols was wearing number 68 on the back because that was early on in his career. So that's kind of a fun little quirk about that card as well. But that is part of that set. You can, in fact, get it. And it was a young Pujols. Kind of a unique, different card. A little bit foily as well. Got a little foliage going on. It's kind of a fun card.
Not very often do I say, but I don't think I've ever seen that card.
Yeah. I have that card sitting in a box, and you're going to get a chance to see it. I will send it to you. You're going to get a chance to see it. But yes. But no, that's a fair question. Actually, do you want to quickly talk about, because we've talked about it in the past, do you want to quickly talk about what the difference is, why there are the various declared value levels, what purpose does it serve, what value is there to it? Do you want to take
Again, I kind of feel like that should be something directed directly to PSA.
Sure.
On that question. Again, I understand a lot of it. There's some things I agree with, some things I don't agree with, but I think that's more of a direct PSA question.
Okay, no, that's fair. I'm with you. But you want to make sure we covered it.
Yeah, not that I just don't know the exact answers. That's why I'm not. I mean, I'd answer anything, but I think that would be better.
I think it's fair. Good evening, Bobby. Always Tiger Woods, Brad? Yes. Does Ichiro have that card on set? I believe he does have an early MLB Showdown as well. I believe Ichiro has one. I feel like I've seen it. I believe he does have one in one of those early sets. So that would be an early Ichiro that could possibly fall under a loophole. So just saying, keep that in mind. Again, those are more off the beaten path. I think I was able to get that Pujols for like $20. Like, it was really inexpensive at the time. They were not expensive. They probably have picked up a little bit. I don't think it's gone crazy because a lot of people don't even think about that's not the rookie anyone would be thinking about. For me though, it's like, no, that's actually kind of cool. I like it. There's certain rookies of Pujols that I would keep. There's a few that I have. I have his Bowman Best. I have a few other ones, but that one to me is one of the more interesting ones because it's just quirky, a little bit different. I like it.
Yeah.
Freddie Funkos are 5K and Trump did 10K. Lots are several grand. Well, don't tell them that yet. Brad, we might have to get some upcharges going on these Funkos.
I know.
I know. Per Bobbles decree, we're getting some upcharges on Funkos.
That must be a sign like I'm assuming a sign trump as well.
I guess
Baubles.
so. I have no idea. You have to let us in baubles. So Greg here. Brad, if we get upcharged from the special show rate, how much can we expect to be upcharged per card?
Yeah, so it depends on
What the
the
rate is?
value of the card after it's graded. So if the card, if you submit at the $18, that's a max 199 value, and the card's worth say $450 as a PSA 10, then you'll get upcharged to the value level.
Mm-hmm.
Then if the card's worth $900, you'll get upcharged to economy. If it's worth $1,400, you'll get upcharged to regular, et cetera, et cetera. So it depends on the finished grade of the card. And like I said, there's a whole team of pricing specialists that do a great job that go over the orders. And I have yet to see someone that they're not nitpicking it to death, right? It's more or less if you submit a card, especially say a McDavid rookie, you submit that at the 199 level, it comes back a PSA 10, then you're going to get bumped up to the Super Express level. Now, if you submit it at Express level, sometimes it might just go right through because you already submitted at that level. They don't bump you up one level. But that's how it works.
Yep. One suggestion I would make here, whether it is at the expo in person or not, I would recommend that if you're kind of borderline and you're not sure, in all honesty, I would at least ask the question ahead of time. If you already know what you're going to be submitting anyway, and you're kind of borderline, where does this fall in? If you're at the expo, you can also be like, it's not going to be a pre-grade, but it's going to be like, have a look at it. It's like, okay, this one has a reason. Maybe this one's got a shot at a 10. If it gets a 10, what's the likely result of that? You do a little bit of quick math and go, okay, so this is the worst case scenario if I get the highest possible grade that I think I could get. Therefore, it will cost me this. And you can plan accordingly. So basically, my goal has always been, think about what the most likely scenario is. The worst case scenario, if you get bumped down a level from maybe what you think, and what if you get a level up? Where's the price point going to end up at? Then you'll already have a ballpark in your head.
Yeah, no, that's true. I had a friend of mine and a good submitter gave me some cards last week, and for the value service, and inside there was 2 McDavid Young Guns in it. And I was like, why are you submitting these at value? He was like, oh, well, I always submit them at the lower and let them bump me up. I said, no, I agree with that. I understand. But what's the worst that you think these cards are going to be? He goes, oh, well, they should be 10s, but if they're 9s, that's probably the worst. I said, well, what if they're 8s? He's like, yeah. So what's a PSA 8 worth? He was like, I don't know, close to $1,000 probably, in around that range, 800 to 1,000. I said, well, submit them at economy then.
Yeah.
You're going to get the cards back. The value the level that you submit them at also has to do with your turnaround time.
Yeah.
So you'll get the cards back quicker, and you're going to pay that anyways. Plus, that's your insured value while the cards are with us and at PSA. So.
Yeah, I would rather you have because we've talked about that strategy before. If you're not as worried about the turnaround time and you want to try to potentially save some money, you can be a little bit conservative, go on the lower one. If worst comes to worst, they bump it up and then it gets adjusted accordingly. But if it doesn't, then you actually got to pay less. And I don't think anyone's going to complain about paying less. Oh, damn, I got to pay less? How horrible. Yeah. Especially if you fell kind of in the middle of that range. That's why I kind of provided that as a range. PSA should be able to keep data on PSA Canada submissions. Brad, you should personally have them be like Brad cards. Have it broken down by sport. Yeah, so Bubbles is saying, nope, not signed. Big collector's market for them. They vault them. So is this Bubbles, Ball Cars, and Funkos?
I like it.
Interesting. Name's getting a little long there, Bubbles. Bobby says, get ready for the onslaught of those TCG cards. The pump is on. Yes, Bobby. Yes. Pump to the moon. Greg here says, yep, absolutely. Nope. Feel free to ask the question anytime. Hockey 99 says, is Card Ladder now the official tool? Not to my knowledge, but they could, I know they've talked about it and kind of skirted around it on the podcast. So if you ever check it out, there's a PSA pod, just a PSA official podcast. So they do talk about Card Ladder a fair bit. They do have it there as the thing. I haven't seen it fully integrated yet. I would be very surprised if they're actually using it other than, and this is where I will put a little separation between two elements of the tool, because if you're familiar with the tool, bear something in mind. There's the Card Ladder front-facing thing, and then there's the Card Ladder data accumulation thing, because it pulls information, completed sales from all these different marketplaces. So if you mean using the tool to track values in the sense of looking at the list of recent sales to get a ballpark figure of where these sell currently, I could totally see them using that, because it's like a search engine on steroids, and it has historical values and gives you a little bit of a ballpark idea. If it's using some of the speculative features, I doubt it, because that is speculative. And they already have a database of completed auctions that you can access on their app now. So it wouldn't shock me if they integrate some of that data into it. This is a pure guess on my part without being in the room or checking.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, there is a team of pricing specialists. I don't know how many guys or girls that are there now. I'm going to say somewhere's a dozen maybe that go over all the orders. So they still do that themselves. So there is no automatic system. I'm sure at some point in the future there may be, but who knows? I'd actually see like to have some of the guys on. They could explain it even better. The strategy they use. Maybe we can get them on to come on the show sometime.
We'll have to get them, but make sure they bring the magic 8 ball because we want the magic 8 ball that determines everything.
Yeah,
We want to
exactly.
make sure they bring it so we can check some stuff. We want to check some
Yeah.
cards. Absolutely, Greg. No problem. Absolutely. Bobby here. Official tool is correct, some may say. I see what you're saying, Bobby. Look, you're working on a tool of your own. It's not available, but eventually it will be. Although we'll never tell Eric. As long as we don't tell Eric, it's fine. But yeah, no, the reality of it is like just being realistic about it. Unless you're in a hurry, I would almost always pick the cheapest option you can get away with that you're comfortable with. Again, there is a insurance element to it. If you are comfortable with that, then that's great, and you can oftentimes save some money, which is awesome. The difference in speed on some of that is not really that different for a lot of the different levels. It depends. Now, if it's a car that you really care about and it's more valuable to you, well, then maybe you pay the premium to get it back a little faster to make sure you get it in hand. So that's something important but you got to figure that out for yourself. But that's maybe where you have the conversation. If you are coming to the expo, then talk to the person at the booth and be like, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what it's for. These are my personal collection cards, or I'm planning on flipping a bunch of these cards and I'm worried about this or I'm worried about that. What do you think? And that's where those conversations can be really insightful and give you a little bit of information to go off of.
Mhm.
That would be my suggestion. Leverage the people that are there who will take the time and talk to you because that's what they're there for. They're there to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And it's hard too. And if you're submitting and you're just based upon getting cards back as fast as possible, uh, I understand that, especially on bigger cards. And all those bigger cards now are coming back as fast as possible. But if you're submitting cards at the under $500 level and it's going to take 2 or 3 months to get them back, then be comfortable with that. And no, like we tell people up front, hey, these are estimated turnaround times. It's beyond our control. I learned that lesson. When I took over PSA Canada, everything was 30 days. So we used to ship on the 15th. The cars would be back on the other 15th. Then that started to, as PSA and the backlog started to accumulate, things started to change.
Mm-hmm.
So, I still think about it now when I had, 250,000 cards down there and I told people that it was going to, they might be 60 days and all of a sudden we're on month 4, 5, and 6. And I had no idea. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I'd call, they'd be like, we don't know when we're going to get to them. And then fortunately we got them back in, and I think most of them are like 8 or 9 months max. They came back, but that was a learning curve. So I know going forward, I tell people, these are estimated turnaround times. There's no guarantee. There's no anything else. We'll do the best we possibly can. All I can tell you is that once you submit your cards to us, your cards are safe and secure. You have nothing to worry about. You're fully insured. So we just move forward from that. I'm sure Bobbles would have some of those doozy stories. Not so much now with SGC, but at one point in his, the group submissions that he does, and I know he does a great job with working with his partner.
Well, I told Bobbles already, like they're doing a good job. But for me, if it's going to be a viable product, I'm thinking $1 per card, 15-minute turnaround time. I'm thinking like those are like the minimum standards I expect. And in fact, Bobbles, by the time he finishes reading the cards and shows them off on his site, like I'm already behind. Like as far as I'm concerned, it's in the backlog while he's going through the cards in the submission. Like it should already be there and already back. I want them back in the holder, and I'll give you your $1. That's it. That's all you're getting. So Eric says, tell Eric what? Is it ready? It's like, Josh has the right answer. I heard Bobby's waiting to integrate BGS pricing. Facts. Facts. That is correct. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now also, speaking of Eric, since he asked, tell Eric what? Tell Eric that he is going to be paying for the like button tonight. Eric has generously once again offered to fully sponsor and pay for the like button. So each one of you that clicks the like button, I charge Eric. Eric is a rich man. He's getting that sweet, sweet Beckett money. He can afford it. At the very minimum, like, look, if I don't make me show the picture with him in a suit. I'm telling you right now, this man can afford it. Fine tailoring, he can afford the like button. You hit that like button, you charge that man. He deserves it.
I agree.
100%. And thank you as always for your support. And as soon as I said that, I see several people hit the like button. You're getting your bill soon, Eric. Don't worry, it's coming. And I'm right on time with that bill. Don't even worry about it. No backlog on my invoice. See, he's thrilled. Thank you all for your cooperation, as always. As always. There you go. Very respectful. Brad says nice things, and you're toasting fuel in the fire. That's right. Absolutely. There you go. 100%.
Thank you, Bubbles, and I agree. And some people have, again, until you're in this space, and it's a job. You know what? This is a business, so I'm not going to complain about it. But there is times when things are beyond our control, and yeah, like I said, we do the best we possibly can and be completely transparent. That's why even today, I have no problem picking the phone up and saying, "Look, your cards are in the shipping department. I asked the question. I didn't get an answer. I asked the question again. I didn't get an answer. I know your cards are safe. We're going to get them. The package always comes, but sometimes things are beyond our control." So,
Absolutely. Bubbles knows. I like to allude to it. On Friday, we stoked the fires of holy war. For the most part, we try to be nice here. We try to be nice. But like guys, if you've ever checked out Bobbles' channel, he does basically the same kind of role with SGC. He does the bulk submissions, sends it in there, does good business by his folks, and we always tease about turnaround times and like how, and for a long time, SGC's primary focus was turnaround times, and then obviously this week they've adjusted the price. So now it's been done. Now that's been incorporated into it, and they've taken the cinematography. Don't think I didn't notice. I saw some video production values over there. I saw it. I'm with you. I get it. And he says, I created a few burner accounts that actually are a few more bucks. As you should, sir. As you should. Well done. Well played. Love it. Good stuff. But yes, the end result of that ended up being a very busy week in terms of the news. The PSA price decrease, of course, and then SGC as well did theirs, and obviously they rolled out a campaign with that. So that's good. My statement remains what I've said before, and what it is that the competition is good in the space because then the consumer wins. Because regardless of which third-party grader they prefer using, it offers them additional opportunities and saves them some money, which is good. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. I don't think anybody complains about that. It's a good thing for everybody overall, because then the collector has options. They can decide. It might still not make sense for them. That's kind of where we talk about the idea of like, you should send in cards that make sense for you. If you know why you're sending in the cards, then that's great. But if you're on the borderline, well, then maybe wait a little longer. Maybe just pick a different time, because that's how you should do it. There's no urgency for most folks to send it in unless it makes sense. In the long run, we would like it to be done because it's a business. But at the same time, it's like, look, it's not good business if you send it in, you're dissatisfied, you paid money and you didn't get value for what you sent it in, because that's not a repeat customer. That's not good business.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing that we try to do. And that's what all group submitters do, regardless of what companies they submit to. I think that the majority of them that are in it for the right reasons and that want to be in it for the long term know that it's not about making a quick buck. It's about having a long-term customer. So you try to explain. Now, things do slip through the cracks. There is times, I've seen a few cards that we've come back that I would have told the person not to submit. But obviously, with the amount of cards that we come, I can't see every card, especially from the shows. So it makes it a little bit hard on that. But I ask the questions, and that's why we have this YouTube channel for. That's why you can email us, you can send us a text message, you can send us a picture of your cards, ask about it, and we're happy to give you our best personal opinion. So
I think that's fair. Let me scroll in here. Having to answer calls over and over again when calls are coming in is like being in a call center. I worked in one of those. In fact, I've worked in a couple of those. When's PSA Canada Contact Center Division opening up? I'm not hitting it for you, Brad. I've been down that road. I've run those KPIs. I was really good at it, but it's not a game that you have to have a lot of patience to get in that game.
You do, and it's not easy. I mean, that's the hardest thing about it. And the problem is the amount of questions that you get, you have to be very knowledgeable. And there's times that I get questions that I'm completely stumped. Even like tonight, look, like Carlos, you're like, yeah, what about, you never know you're going to get hit up. What about Albert Pujols' 2000 rookie card? Is it TC? Well, there's just so many questions that come down the pipeline that you stop, you think about it, and you're like, I don't know that answer. I had a gentleman tonight from BC. I think I mentioned it last time. He had I think it might have been a 20 or 30 card order that he gave us at the Toronto show. He just got it back today. Him and his son opened it up, and they had an absolute great time, and they loved everything. But there was a Kobe Bryant card that it said do not hold or no charge. So he wasn't charged for it, but he asked me why. And I was like, I don't know. So I'm going to look into that to try to figure out why it wasn't holdered. But he was the gentleman that had the card was the Steve Nash. I think I mentioned it. I love Steve Nash, obviously being a Canadian, and what he's done in basketball is so impressive. But it was the Ultra Platinum Medallion card, and it was the silver one from '96, his rookie, numbered out of 100, and it was his jersey number 13 of 100, and it came back a PSA 10. And I was looking at it like, I would love to have this card. Like, this is a card I would love to have, and he was ecstatic with it tonight, so it was great.
Stuff. So Bob was here was asking, do you go strictly email for customer service? No, he doesn't. If you check out the posting on the PSA thing, it's to his personal line.
Yeah.
Which might not have been wise, just for the record.
No, and we are going to change that. I just don't know how to do it. Like,
so Bobbles, if you need Brad's phone number, you can just go to PSA Canada on their website, and that's his phone number. You can call him.
And you get it. And honestly, 99.9% of the people that call are good people and happy. But there's obviously people in this world that you are never going to make happy, and you still got to deal with them to a point. I mean, we do have the choice. Obviously, we do have a list that some that Len passed over to me and some that we've created. We have a little list going now. I think there's a dozen people on it that we just choose not to do business with them. All the best in their collecting and hobby future, but we choose not to do business with you. So we are PSA Canada, but we are our own business, and we can choose who we want to do business with, and we don't. And there's, like I said, I think there's about a dozen people. Eric, I'm not sure if Eric's on there.
Well, I just engraved him on top.
Okay, perfect.
I was going to say, because we have a couple of folks here that I know frequent my channel as well, and a couple of them know about my affinity for wrestling and all that. And since we're talking about the Canadian angle and the AEW show on Wednesday, I don't know if it's going to be the main event or not, but I know for a fact that one of the matches is going to be Chris Jericho, who's the Ring of Honor champion, is going to be there having a match defending. And Chris Jericho was known for many things, but one of his things he was known for was the list of Jericho. Funny you brought up a list. So this is where you, Brad, you'd be like, you know what happens, Eric, when you call and bother us? You know what happens when you don't pay for the like button on time? You know what happens? You just made the list. And then boom, just add him to the list. As far as I'm concerned, we put it right on top. We put Eric right on top immediately, and we just put Sanderson to or Eric, BGS fanboy. Still paying for the like button. We put him right on top of the list, as we should. But yes, no, for better or worse, email is available. There is an email available there. There is also a phone number available. So that is another element of it. It's tough. It is a thing. But no, I think long term, I think for your personal sanity, it is better that it be a separate number that is not your personal line.
Yeah.
The long run. So Jeremy, I know, was asking Sherry for his submission. So I'll leave that to you, Sherry. You got that. Nova says, put Steve in charge of customer service. There you go. Bobby says Eric is the 1%. That's what we're saying. Grave right on top of the list. Luckily, people mostly use Facebook Instant Message, Instagram, Twitter, email, just text. Not many call me, but it's tough keeping so many options being open 24 hours a day. Yeah. And I know for a fact, sometimes I'll be chatting with Brad, and he'll be like, okay, I need a couple of minutes because we need to talk about something. And then, because I could just give him a call. But I know sometimes he's already on a call or whatever. So I'll be like, okay, when you got a window here, let's chat. And then we figure it out. But the point is, like, yeah, the problem is the same phone number I'm calling him on, that I'm talking to him on, that he can call me on, is the same number they can call him on. So it creates a bit of, you want to have a separation of church and state a little bit on that one.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's the one that, like, my mother calls me on, my brother, family. It's this is the lifeline, and it doesn't stop. But that will be changed again. We wanted to make sure we did it so we had full access, but now with our customer base, and we're always adding new people, and especially as our team grows, like we have Sherry in house now with us. Obviously, she's been here with me since day one. We've added in Carlos is helping us out with the social media side of things now, and we're going to keep growing. We have Luke Quach, who's looking after like Western Canada for us. Kevin Douglas is doing a lot in TCG, and also on the sports side in Ontario. We have Pascal, who is our Quebec. Then I kind of look after Atlantic Canada. So we're growing. We're growing. and we keep on, but we want to make sure we do things the right way. And there's a lot of things that we don't have control over. So it's very hard. Like right now, I like to say, hey, let's have a team in Halifax of 4 or 5 people, but we don't know what's going to happen in the marketplace. And we don't know if I commit to somebody that's going to be good, I got to make sure that they have their position and their job security. So we're just taking it day by day, and there's so many changes at PSA, and all I can say is we work with them every week. We talk, and we're working on some great things that are really going to be beneficial to Canada in the future. And I'm very optimistic on our position in partnership with them and the team that we're putting in place. And plus all the guys in the chat, like we have a good team. So
that sounds good. And kind of playing off of that is that even the conversations we have from the social media side, even the conversation we have just in general, just chatting about how things are going and everything. There's no lack of plans. There's no lack of ideas. There's no lack of like desire to do the. Brad has plenty of ambition. I'll just say it that way. I'll keep it very generic, and I'll say that Brad has plenty of ambition for where he'd like to see it go. There is an idea. There is a roadmap of how this could go, but it is not entirely on him. And it's one of those things where when you look at these, take for example, one of the long running rumors that we all kind of know is happening, but we don't know when. We don't know who. Panini being acquired, right? We all know, quote unquote, that it's happening. We're all confident. We're all sure. You can't find a living soul that can say when. Could be today, tomorrow, or a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. But we're pretty sure. Like we're pretty sure it's good to go. But even in that scenario, where like it's got to be some dotting some I's and crossing some T's. Like we got to be down to nitty gritty at that point.
Yeah.
And even then, we're still waiting for like official word. There's still moving parts. There's still things going on left, right, and center. So it's one of those things like the ambition is there. The desire is there. And at this point, the only thing the PSA Canada folks can do is just keep basically building the infrastructure so that if somebody says, okay, now is the time, we're good. All right, now we have something to tell you. Great.
Yeah.
And we're not starting from scratch because at least some groundwork has been laid and some relationships have been fostered and everybody's in place. Hey guys, we're good now. Let's do this.
And the other thing too, I can say collectors is very good at holding what their future plans are very close to their chest.
Yes.
Like we didn't find out till last night about the new price drop. Yeah. We had no idea. I kind of thought something was going to happen. We all did. I mean, everyone, even on social media. So we literally don't know that. I mean, I shipped an order. Did we ship an order yesterday or the day before yesterday? So like there was a whole bunch of bulk cards in there that I would happily have shipped them for the customer to the new rate, but I didn't know it was coming. So I have to give collectors credit, and sometimes it's a little frustrating because it's hard on my end, where a lot of the times I hear it from somebody else besides collectors before I even know. So it's like, whoa, did this just happen? I'm like, where'd you see that at? I didn't hear anything, so it completely caught off guard. So like, that's why even today, you could see at the start of the show, I was a little bit kind of off my regular game because it's been so hectic today, but we're almost through it, and tomorrow's a new day. So
that's right. And I can just tell you guys, because like I said, I do the thing here with Brad, and this is not my full-time gig. This is something I do kind of with Brad and the team, and I work with them. But I've got my day job, and when I do my day job, I can tell you, at my day job, I'll get messages, and I got messages all this week. Monday, I was super busy, not related to sports cards. And all it was a bunch of people go, hey, this changed. What happened? They didn't get the memo. There was a memo. They didn't get it. And they didn't know what happened, so they were asking me what happened. And that's at a multi-billion-dollar organization with tens of thousands of employees. Sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. It's difficult. So I can't blame them too much, but at the same time, there's always room for improvement. And communication is one of those areas. And kind of to Brad's point here is that we knew, and I alluded to it off the top of the show, we knew that there was going to be something. We knew that bulk rate had to change. We knew that it was going to change. I didn't wake up that day thinking today that was the day.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, it was. And then the next day, SGC had its thing. So, and I didn't wake up in the morning thinking that necessarily. I asked the question in a video on my own YouTube channel, how long will it take before I assume there'll be a response of some kind? It took hours. Not even a full day. Not even a full 24 hours. And there was another shoe to drop. And don't be surprised if there's another shoe to drop down the road here. Could be a week from now, a month from now, whenever. Who knows? But that's such is the dynamic nature of this business now, which is interesting. It keeps it interesting for us who are in it because it's like, yeah, you don't know. I could wake up tomorrow and it could be a whole new thing. And you just never know.
So one thing too is, I know, not to speak too far, but we're going to get myself and my team. We're going to have more of a behind the scenes look at PSA, and we're going to be, I don't want to say we're going to PSA University, but we're going to have a lot more training, I guess you could say, over the course of the next month that PSA is putting in place just to make us even better equipped to understand all the processes. Because, like, back to what I said earlier, there's so many things that we just don't know. So the more information we can have, because we want to be completely transparent with everyone, the more information we have, knowledge is power. We're going to be able to relay messages more accurately to our customer base. So.
Absolutely. And all I'll say about this is, again, in the spirit of being as transparent as possible, one thing you need to know, and this is just facts. You can go look at it right now. As we speak, we're doing this because the idea was to create that transparency, to create that ability to contact and speak with you and all this. That has been a thing. Other people are noticing, other people are seeing it, other people have come up with similar ideas. I can tell you that I saw tonight, as part of that SGC, suddenly their YouTube channel came to life. A video came on there. You can go check it out for yourself. I can tell you the CSG had a video either today or yesterday. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but they added a new video to the thing. Isn't it funny? All the third-party creators are certainly making much heavier use of their social medias, of videos, of different ways of getting information and disseminating out to the public. And that is a variety. By the way, as a consumer, that's a good thing. That means you guys are getting some more inside information of what's going on. You're getting a better view into what's going on. That's not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing for everybody.
I agree with you.
So real quick, I'll read this comment, CC. I didn't want to ignore it. I just wanted to get through a couple of things we're going to chat there with. Speaking of Kobe, I actually pulled a Kobe Auto patch redemption card. It's an actual card with no patch or auto, but has the big redemption sticker on it. I don't think they grade the redemptions themselves, like the redemption cards. I know they used to do ones where it would be the design of the card, but there'd be a redemption thing on it. Upper Deck used to do that as well with some of the sign of the times. They would have a card, but the card would have a sticker on it that was representing the card. And if you wanted the autograph version, you'd have to send in that thing. But I don't think they grade that.
Yeah, I don't think either.
No. It's interesting though. It is an interesting thing because when they use the actual design of the card, it is literally the design of the card, and it is a legitimate redemption from the manufacturer. So it's kind of an interesting category, I guess. Eric here says, please not the list. Oh yes, the list. Yep. So Sherry's got you there. Perfect. Well, PSA Canada have job posting for part-time and full-time. We did touch on that and address it. So we're good there. Will there be a mind-blowing PSA tour video? We can only hope. You never know. Never know. Discussions are being had. Work in progress. You never know. With this news about PSA and SGC, I can only guess that Becca will try to compete by doubling their prices. Seems like a Becca thing to do. Is that the decision you made? Is that what you decided on? You said to yourself, my suit is not nearly bougie enough, is what you're trying to tell me. Is this your subtle way of saying that you made an executive decision, Eric? You know what this sounds like, folks? This sounds like Mr. Eric is about to get a raise. And a man who's about to get a raise can afford the like button.
Did he make it back? Think about that. Did he make it back from Vegas?
Apparently he did, or he might be just in flight right now. He might be just texting and sending messages from his flight, from his personal Learjet, of course. A man who's getting a raise like this sounds to me like a man who can afford the like button. Because every time you hit the like button, those of you who haven't already, I send Eric a bill. And that man can afford it. He deserves to pay. Oh, and he'll pay. I'll guarantee that. Kitty Collectibles, good evening. Absolutely. Just got to the hotel. There you go. Hit with the update. Sounds good. Okay, cool. So we'll start winding her down a little bit here. We wanted to go about an hour tonight, so we're right about there. If you've got any other questions or comments or thoughts about any of the stuff, obviously there was a lot of activity. I am going to cover that on my own YouTube channel as well. We'll talk about that coming up here on the Friday. That's always good. But overall, it's been eventful. And I don't expect the eventfulness to end because obviously now we're coming up, for us, we're coming up on the expo. Now we're about a month out. So that means there's going to be some activity related to that, for sure. I did mention at the beginning of the show, I'm going to mention it again at the end of the show. Next week, we're going to do it on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we're adjusting the schedule. I have to be at AEW. I'm making sure that those hooligans don't trash our fair city here. And then they make sure to clean up on their way out. You make sure you put things in the proper categories. Recycling and trash and do all the appropriate things. I'll be there to make sure that happens. And Billy Celio will be there to send me messages to make sure that I'm making sure his favorites are being taken care of. So that's important. That's critical. Sounds good. Yep. There you go. Perfect. Sounds good. So overall, though, thank you all as always for joining in. Thank you all for the questions and thoughts and comments. If you check it out on the replay, feel free to throw anything in the comments section. All I'll say is none of us know what the future holds. If the question is, will there be more price drops? I would expect so, honestly. What the timeline is, no idea. No clue. And that's kind of the way it is. That's why we wanted to make sure you understood. It's like, no, none of us knew about that price drop until hours before the price drop. And then it basically was announced. So the turnaround between something's about to happen and it happens was actually very short from point A to point B.
Yeah, and all our pricing is available. You can either email us, you can see it on Instagram, you can check it out on our Facebook page. We just launched it tonight, so all with the updated pricing. So more or less, at the end of the day, bulk dropped $6 a card Canadian for us. So
Nice. I think that works out. Yeah, and it just gives a couple of options. Not everything will fall under it. It won't make sense to send everything in at that price point, but it doesn't mean there aren't some good cards that make sense as far as that price point is concerned. So that's good. Good stuff. All right. So other than that, like I said, in the upcoming episodes, we'll start talking about it. Possibly as soon as next episode, we'll start talking a little bit more about expo plans. We'll start teasing and alluding to some of that, and we'll start working on some stuff on our end to add some more videos to this channel. And again, if you have any comments or suggestions about anything you would like to see, it would be really good to put it in the comment section because then we can check it out. The team can reply, and then also sometimes we'll carry it over to the next episode. Sounds good. All right, Brad, if that's good, then we're going to take off for the evening. Have yourselves a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night football, and as we head into the weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.